Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today we're doing the top 10 chill games, or top 10 peaceful games, zen games, easygoing games, whichever verb you want to use for that classification. And this is a viewer-requested video. I had someone on some video somewhere comment that they wanted to see my top 10 chill games, and I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. I haven't done a video like that. Let's go ahead and do it. And of course, timestamps everything down below, but before we dive into it, usual notes that all videos like this are inherently subjective. I'd say more so in this case, some of these games you might view as cutthroat or mean or the opposite of chill, but they reflect the way I play them or the way my group plays them. These to me are my top 10 chill games. And to that end, we're actually going to have a bonus pick, my number 11. My number 11 is a game that I think many would consider chill, but the way I play it is anything but, which is why it's my number 11 pick. And that number 11 pick is going to be Parks. Parks by Keymaster Games is a delightful experience, and one of the things that I've often praised about this game is the fact that it can be played very peaceful, very zen-like. You're going on a journey, you move your little hikers along a path that grows progressively larger across 4 rounds of play. It is delightful. Let's go ahead and show you over here. It's a delightful game that is basically just all about developing a little pathway and wandering around as you collect tokens and trade them in for various parks in the game. Very chill. Except I also like the game because it can be played brutally mean and cutthroat, which is the way myself and my group tends to play this. We tend to go after each other. We tend to try to block each other and get in each other's ways and set up the perfect move of being able to move here and here because it'll give me more sun and give me more water and block you because I'll leave my person there and press to move ahead. Oh, you're down 2 people left on the track? We'll jump to the end and go ahead and cut you off. It is a game that I love it, make no mistake, but I do think it is a game that the way I play it, the way my group plays it, is not chill. It's very mean and cutthroat, but it is a game that if you are looking for a chill game, especially one that can double as a very mean game, then I would recommend Parks, my number 11 pick. From there, we're going to dive into the games I actually do view as more chill. Now, all of these have strategy. Chill does not mean the absence of strategy, at least not to me. But there is something zen-like about playing certain experiences. Something that's a bit more, hey, I just want a light, easygoing, fun time. I don't want to overthink things. Even if there's strategy, I'm not here for the overarching strategy of what's going on. I just want to go ahead and place tiles, shoot discs, whatever it is that we're doing in this game. I just want to go ahead and have fun and just relax a bit. And for me, my number 10 in that category is going to be a recent one. In fact, my number 10 is not sure if it's the newest. It's either the newest or tied for the newest on the list, but that's going to be Trailblazers. Trailblazers is my number 10 over here, and it is a very relaxing experience. You'll notice as we go through this list today, by the way, there is a high overlap between nature-themed games and chill games. A lot-ish, maybe like 4 or 5 of the games on this list are definitely nature-themed, and I think there's a reason for that. I think there is a zen-like approach to nature and a zen-like approach to gameplay, and so the marrying of the two does make sense when you're looking at mechanics and theme at the same time. And Trailblazers hits that for me. Designed by Ryan Courtney over here, this one is, and put up by Bitewing Games, Trails is a game of making trails. You can be drafting cards each round as you try to go ahead and construct a path over here, trying to fulfill various goals, anything from just the fact that you have a looping set of an arc that starts at one camp and heads back to that camp, while managing the overlapping cards and the interconnectedness of 3 different camps. Trying to balance all that in your game already requires a lot of thought process, but then managing that around goals, and possibly on the solo mode, or the expansion for that matter. There's now an expansion, the Sasquatch expansion if you want that. There's a bunch of ways to play the game, and they all give you a lot of strategic decision, but I still find the game zen-like. I still find it peaceful as I draft, and yes, I'm trying to take into account as much as I possibly can to win. In all of these games I am, but it's still just satisfying to draft a few cards, put them down, make a pathway unfold. Depending on which mode you're playing, move your little bikers or canoers or whatever along the path. Try to score as many points as possible, either against others or against yourself. It is a very chill, zen-like game for me. That's going to be Trailblazers from Bitewing Games and Ryan Courtney. Highly recommend it. I think it's fun. I think it's quick to play. I think it's satisfying. You could try this on Board Game Arena, by the way. In fact, you could try Parks or Trailblazer. You can try both these games on Board Game Arena. In fact, a decent amount of these games are available to play online if you want to try them out and see if they're for you. Coming at number 9, we have possibly the oldest game in my collection here. Not the oldest game on this list. In fact, I think number 1 is the oldest game on this list. But the oldest in my collection is probably Carcassonne. Carcassonne has been around for, I guess it depends on how you count collection, because it's one of the first games I played before I got into board games officially. Like I played Carcassonne, I played Catan, and then I started getting into other games eventually. So I've had this for a very long time. I don't know what point in my actually getting into the hobby did I really sit down and try to gather this particular game, so I don't know when that process started, but Carcassonne is another tile laying game, similar to the cards in Trailblazers, but this time you're laying actual tiles as you try to build a medieval landscape and place your people down on the board to try to claim roads and castles and fields, and as you add expansions, more and more in the game. It's one of those games that I don't pull out all that often, but I also refuse to get rid of it because it's consistently a game that does deliver a good experience, and I have like 8 or 9 expansions baked into this box over here. I've compressed a lot of content into this box. It's completely packed. Let's go ahead and show you over here. It's just, this is what my Carcassonne box looks like over here. We have all these tiles on the side, a whole bunch of other things underneath. It's just chock full of, I don't know, I think base game plus 8 or 9 expansions in here. But anyways, Carcassonne, it's a very Zen-like game. It is higher on this list because this one can be played mean and cutthroat. Some of the ones towards the top over here do have a degree of cutthroatness to it. I do find that I am very relaxed and chill as I play Carcassonne. It is not the level of strategy that I invest in Parks. To me, I'm going to play it optimally. I'm going to try to take control of that castle from you. But there's still something just inherently Zen-like about building out a landscape. There's something inherently peaceful about slowly growing a larger and larger group of terrain as you do so with the other players, and yes, there's fighting along the way, which is why it's higher up over here, but it's still a delightfully peaceful game. My next one over here, my number 8 on this list, is arguably the biggest box on the table, which is going to be Kingdom Builder Empire Edition over here. And Kingdom Builder I have a lot of fun with, and it is one of those games where, yes, you are operating in a shared landscape, and so inherently there's a degree of competitiveness going on, but it's also one in which you're trying to do your own thing, granted on a shared landscape, and you're trying to score as many points as possible. You see, in Kingdom Builder, it's all about placing out settlements. Every turn you draw a card, and then that card is going to define the terrain you put your settlements out onto. You also have abilities you'll unlock as you do so, and this game over here, this has like all the expansions and everything baked into it. It gives you a ton of gameplay as far as how you are trying to place down settlements, as far as how you are trying to optimally get as much points as possible as you try to be mindful of immediately scoring goals, as well as end-of-game scoring goals, and just try to build out your settlements while paying attention to the fact that in this game you always have to build adjacent if you're able to, which presents a bit of a puzzle of how can you try to let yourself separate out to be able to score optimally while working within the confines and the restraints of the system. You are operating on a shared board, a set of 4 tiles over here, and so that shared board does mean that you are competing over limited ideal spots in the game, or sometimes specifically getting in each other's way in order to minimize their point scoring, but I just find the process, draw a card, place elements, draw a card, place elements, I enjoy that process, and I find it is very soothing. There's something nice about just placing things out. You'll notice a common trend on many of these games involves just placing things out and just getting whatever it is. And in the case of, again, Parks isn't technically on this list over here. I should probably remove it from the, let's remove it from the shot and put it on the floor over here. But Trailblazers, placing down tiles. Carcassonne, you're placing, Trailblazers, placing down cards. Carcassonne, you're placing down tiles. And Kingdom Builder, you're placing down little settlements on the board. From there, we move into another one, in this case, except in this case, you are placing down trains. Ticket to Ride is a classic for a reason. This game, and I have many games that I can compare Ticket to Ride in different ways that will give you different Ticket to Ride adjacent experiences. But I do think Ticket to Ride is the most Zen-like of them all, in terms of that genre, that category of like route building on a game. This is a game you can play mean and cutthroat. This is a game where you can intentionally try to cut others off as you play through it, but it's not the way I play the game. I find this is an easy game to go out and just take one of 3 actions. You either draw more trains, so you can place down trains, you place down trains using those cards you drew up in the first place, or you gather new tickets which represent more ways you're trying to connect things on the board. You see, over here, you're basically trying to deal with this map over here as you try to gather various ticket cards, and you're trying to connect those tickets, creating an unbroken line of your trains from location to location in the game. And this game has a million variants. There's a million well, not a million variants, but there's a lot of variants for Ticket to Ride because of how popular this game is. Let's say over 3 million sold or something like that. Somewhere in these, this must be an old box. It doesn't say like 3 million sold, but this is a game that's had a lot of sold copies because it is incredibly soothing and popular and easy to play, all as you simply place down trains. Again, there's something interesting and calming about placing things down in games, and for Ticket to Ride, you're creating slow routes of trains, you're connecting point A to point B, you're scoring points both for the actual trains you're placing down as well as for the connection points you eventually establish. You're losing points for the tickets you didn't get to, so there's definitely some push your luck or push your strategic edge or push how fast the other players are actually trying to achieve endgame, but it is a satisfying experience that if you want something that is easy to teach, easy to play, and just inherently calming to go through, highly recommend trying Ticket to Ride when you have a chance. Another game that has you placing things down, but this time on your own individual landscape. We're back to Trailblazers, where Trailblazers you're building your own landscape, the other ones you're operating a shared landscape, but in Cascadia, you are once again operating on your own landscape in this nature-themed tile-laying game. And over here, I have the box for the Landmarks expansion, although I think the base game really is a great place to start, and honestly, I wouldn't even recommend the Landmarks expansion unless you're really into the base game and just want more experience there, because I think the base game is great. I think the Landmarks expansion, well, you can check my review on the Landmarks expansion if you want. But anyways, over here, as far as the base game goes, you are building out your own terrain in this over here. You have your own spots over here as you draft tiles from the center region. You're going to draft the various board tiles, as well as the animals that are going on those board tiles, and you add them to your shared landscape, trying to be mindful of the 5 scoring cards in the game that are going to give you different ways to score points. You're trying to be mindful of that, while also building out large grouping of shared terrain. There's a lot of things you're trying to juggle as you ultimately work on your own tableau, and try to figure out the best combinations that will maximize your score. But like many of these games afford, you're also just placing down tiles. You're building out a landscape. It is soothing to watch it grow. It is a satisfying experience. It has some of the less competitiveness that you'll see in Ticket to Ride or Kingdom Builder because you are operating on your shared terrain over there. You're operating on your own individual terrain as opposed to a shared terrain. Yes, you are drafting tiles from a common pool in the center, so there is player interaction or mindfulness that you have to be mindful of. But past that, it is a very satisfying experience to go ahead and build out your board as you try to figure out the best ways to score points in Cascadia. From there, we have another one where you're operating on your own shared board, and this time again you are pulling tiles from a shared pool, so there is that mindfulness. But this one we start getting really zen for these next 5 over here. But we have Barenpark. Barenpark is still to this day one of my favorite polyomino games. I think it consistently delivers a relaxing, enjoyable experience in which, yes, you are trying to get points in this polyomino game as you build out your best Barenpark, but it's still just fun, and you get to perfectly close off your board. Many polyomino games try to be more and more clever, and as a result of doing so, there's less feeling of completion, of just completing something. And Barenpark, more than often than not, is a game where you can fully complete your entire board as you go through it. In this game, you're going to be operating with a shared board of where you're gathering tiles from, and then your own individual board of where you're placing out your player boards, placing the tiles on them, all while you try to grab polyomino pieces in the best way to possibly, well, score everything. You're trying to complete your individual sections because you get bear statues. You're trying to be mindful of the public goals because, well, they're extra points if you achieve those. You're trying to gather all the various tiles in the game before other players get to them because the tiles get fewer and fewer points as you go through the stacks, and so getting to those tiles first is important. But you're also trying to be mindful of where they fit into your board and how they help your engine, and are you properly making sure you're optimizing around, well, everything. And the expansion, the brown bears, I can't remember the expansion, the monorails, whatever, there's an expansion that adds monorails and more bears and other things that give you even more to consider while maintaining the degree of calm feeling around just, again, placing down tiles, building things off. The sense of completion is there. I love that sense of completion. Most polyomino games I play do not let me actually complete the polyomino thing. As much as I love them, Patchwork, you never complete your board. Planet Unknown, I've never completed my board. I came close one time. One time I almost completed my board, but you never complete your board. Foundations of Rome, it's not even your board. It's a shared board. Isle of Cats, you don't complete that ship. Polyomino games more and more don't let you actually complete the thing you're doing. Project L does let you complete it, but that's a different story for a different day. Barenpark is delightful, it's satisfying, it's placing down tiles, you're scoring points, you're managing strategy, and you're actually completing the things that you're working towards as well. Next up, we have Roll to the Top, which is arguably my least favorite game on this list, and yet I still have it specifically because of that zen-like ease of access, sense of just, hey, I want something simple. I want something stupid. I want a light game that's going to be easy to play today. That's going to be Roll to the Top. You see, in Roll to the Top, all you're doing is you're rolling dice, and then you're using those numbers that you roll to go ahead and fill in various grids. Whether it's the pyramid over here, whether it's the Eiffel Tower, you can have different boards. If you have the expansion, I think you have as many as 12 different maps to go through, but all of them basically have you rolling dice, and then assigning those dice to various spots on the board, being mindful that you're working your way up. You can't place a lower number below a higher number. So you can see in this pyramid over here, as you place the 3, there has to be a 3 above it, or a 3 above it, or a 6 above it. You have to go up as you work your way every time, which means you're working your way towards higher and higher numbers. You can see that over here in the Eiffel Tower as well. You're trying to figure out the best way to go higher and higher as you go through this, which just makes it a simple experience where there is strategy. The strategy of which numbers do you place where, how do you build for now and for the future. Again, all these games have strategy, but when I want something really like this is, to me, is the lightest roll and write I have in my collection in terms of the sheer just fill out numbers, build stuff up. It's the only one where you're not really placing something down, at least so far, but it still very much has a sense of completion. draw a number in, complete your grid, work your way to the top, try to get there first, because ultimately that's how you're going to win this game, and you get there first by just being a bit more strategic with where your numbers go. But whether you win or not, it's a satisfying, calm, zen-like experience. And number 3 over here is going to be slightly different, and this time I think you're creating more than anything else. You're not placing things down, but it's still very high up there. It's, well, you'll see. This one is Canvas. Canvas is one of the most zen-like experiences that I have in my collection. Canvas is, and this, like, I have Canvas Reflections, I have Canvas, the newest one, whatever it's called, I can't remember the name of the newest one, but Canvas is a game of just trying to build works of art, which it makes it so satisfying to play through. I have played this game with people who didn't even care about the fact that there was a mechanical choice going on in the game. They just wanted to make pretty pictures of art, and they did so. They played the game, they grabbed the cards that looked nice, they scored some points, and then slowly but surely they may even have learned how to play if they cared about. Some did, some didn't, but basically the game involves you gathering various cards, and you're going to assemble 3 cards into a frame. So you're going to have over here, you can see 3 cards over here, plus a background, and they all come together to make a work of art, but also to have these, which are a combination of this, this, and this, those little bottom lines there, they all combine to make a single cohesive work of art, and set of symbols as well. And those set of symbols are being used to fulfill certain goals, because every game of Canvas, you're going to have 4 goals out, and as you add expansions, it gets a little more complicated as the extra things to manage, but you're going to have goals in play that reward you for doing different things, having symbols next to each other, having reflecting symbols, having all symbols, whatever it is you're doing, you're trying to get different things going on as you collect those symbols. So this is a game you can play without having any mind as to how you're actually going to score your cards, and again, that's happened. I've had that happen with my group multiple times where somebody just wanted the experience and they didn't care about the actual reason why they're doing things past, hey, that looks pretty, now let me see how I do. And as well, I highly recommend, if you have a chance, go on Amazon, buy a set of little mini easels. You can display your paintings. I love that. It's my favorite way to play Canvas. But Canvas in general is just an incredibly satisfying, calming experience that is visually delightful. It appeals to the artist in you as you literally create fun works of art that have things like, disjointed journey, or, I don't know, amazing walkway. You have different terms because each piece of art is named. You combine the names as well. So you have art, you have a name, and then you have a set of mechanical reasons why you're actually trying to do what you do, and that's going to score you points. But something about that combination of things just works incredibly well, and it's why I highly recommend Canvas. I think it's an excellent game, one worthy of trying to hunt down if you haven't already, and it's going to be both a strategic experience, but also a very calming one at the same time. My number 2 pick over here is the first game I thought of when I was putting together this list. It's not my number 1, but it is the first game I thought of. See, this one over here is Tranquility. And with a name like Tranquility, I think it has to be a calming game. It has to be a zen-like game, and it very much is. See, Tranquility is a game about, well, I don't even know how you show this. I don't think I can really show much over here. There's a bunch of cards over here. And what you're doing is you're trying to create a set of ascending numbers in a 6x6 grid. You're operating with a 6x6 grid. Each card goes somewhere in that grid. Now, the cards you have are numbered between 1 and 80. So that shouldn't be that hard. You're trying to get, a set of 36 ascending numbers. They don't have to be sequential. You can go from 1 to 5 to 9 to 12. You can jump the numbers, but it has to be ascending in its order, and you can place the cards anywhere you want within the grid. The problem is when cards go next to each other, you have to discard cards from your hand. And you're playing this with other players, which means you don't know what you're discarding as you go through it, which means you don't know what they're discarding, you don't know what you're discarding, you can't communicate what you've discarded. And so there is a sense of trust as you work together, placing cards coolly into a grid. You only need 36, but which cards you discard and the gaps you leave and how you choose to approach that, as well as the fact that there's a bunch of modules in here to make the game more variable. Tranquility is an excellent game that is very soothing, it is cooperative, you work together, it is a sense of calm. It is a beautiful game. If you want something to simply relax to, I highly recommend Tranquility. And then my number 1 pick over here is the largest game on the table. And if you're like, didn't you say Kingdom Builder is the largest game? I did not. I said Kingdom Builder is the largest box on the table. And I was very specific about that because my number 1 is Crokinole. Sorry. Here we go. Crokinole. Crokinole is my number 1 calming game. If you haven't played Crokinole, you owe it to yourself to try it out at some point. Whether at a convention, a friend's house, buying a board, there's so many options to try this game. But this game is so satisfying. There's something fun and zen-like about shooting discs, because in Crokinole, what you're doing is you're basically shooting discs into the middle of the board. You're trying to get a 20-pointer. Straight down there, you'll take it out, remove it. But more often than not, unless you're a pro, you're not getting that shot off the bat. Your shots are going to ricochet, they're going to bounce, and then other players have to hit your discs. And you might sound that sounds chaotic and crazy and just like, shooting discs back and forth each other. Like, I don't think of pool as a calming game, and I don't think of pool as a calming game, but I do think of Crokinole as a calming, zen-like, peaceful experience. Whether you're doing it as a head-to-head experience with one other person, whether you're playing as a 4-player game with 4 of you around the table, there's something incredibly satisfying around just grouping up together as you think through your shots, as you think through the actions you're going to take, because again, there is strategy to this game. There's not just dexterity, there's strategy. But you'll have 4 friends sitting together, having conversations, enjoying each other's company, while they attempt to score as many points as possible in this game. It is calm, it is soothing, it is relaxing, it is incredibly strategic. There's a dexterity element, which basically counts as a sport, which is where I get most of my activity in during the week. Mostly. But anyways, that's going to be Crokinole. Crokinole is my #1 calm, zen, tranquil game. I really enjoy this game. I highly recommend trying it out if you're able to. That's going to be Tranquility. That's going to be Crokinole, my #1 zen-like game. And that's my list. These are my top 10 chill games, zen games, peaceful games, relaxing games, whichever verb or terminology you want to use. Is it a verb? It's an adjective. Whichever adjective you want to use. Did I use verb at the beginning of this video? It's an adjective. I think I said verb at the beginning of this video. It's an adjective. These are adjectives. These are adjectives for enjoyable, relaxing, peaceful experiences. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd recommend. What did I leave off this list that you think of as that's the game that just makes you chill out, vibe, and have a good time? In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.